Knicks. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York. We are the New York Knicks. 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 Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. We're back on track on the floor, scoring more than 94, and the Knicks are hardcore. And I'll tell you like this, we ain't never looked sharper. With Hubert, Bonner, Gray, and Harper, it's the Knicks, and we're back on pace. Everyone's gearing up for the championship race, and the fans are going crazy, and they're doing it for a reason. Cause 94 is the Knicks of our season. You better believe that it's got all that takes. We're shooting three-pointers, and we're running fast breaks, and if your defense makes a mistake, then bam, you're in dopes in your face. This is a team you don't wanna miss. We are New York. We are the New York Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Yo, busted, all you hear is a swish. Threes by Starks and dunks by Smith. And no rebounds. If that's the case, we put Oakley a face in your face. We draw charges and we set picks. We are New York. We are the New York Knicks. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York.
All right, everybody. Samori Benjamin here on a great Sunday morning, May 23rd, 2026. And that song right there that you just heard, the Go New York Knicks song, that was a song that debuted in 1994. The Knicks that season made the NBA Finals, and they played the Houston Rockets in a 7-game series where they were up 3-2, and they ended up losing the last two in Houston, lost the NBA Finals, and the Knicks we're still waiting for the Knicks to win a NBA championship. At that time in 94, the Knicks had gone 21 years since their last championship of 1973. I remember being a kid at that time, and it seemed like at that time, they made it seem like it was an eternity since the Knicks had last won the championship, 21 years. And now, 2026, we're still waiting for the Knicks to win the championship. And right now, folks, the Knicks are one win away from getting to the championship round. And if you look at my profile pic on Facebook, the photo right there of myself and Anthony Mason, that was from 1994 when this song came out. And it's the best Knicks song still 32 years later. And the Knicks, they reached the NBA Finals in 99 and lost to the San Antonio Spurs. And now, 2026, 27 years since they were last in the NBA Finals, the Knicks, after beating Cleveland last night, again, they go up 3-0 in their best-of-7 playoff series in the Eastern Conference Finals. And, folks, it's amazing. The Knicks now, after last night, have won 10 straight playoff games. Amazing. And earlier in these playoffs, it's funny now because after the first game, 3 games of the Knicks' first-round series against Atlanta, the Knicks ended up losing Game 2 and Game 3 by a point. And, in fact, they were the first team ever to lose 2 straight playoff games by 1 point. And when the Knicks, won the first game, I was like, look, why can't the Knicks ever, because you saw some teams in these playoffs early on this year getting blowout wins. And the Knicks, I said, hey, even when the Knicks win, it's always a close life and death, biting your nails under the bed, not being able to look type of game all the time. And so I said, why can't the Knicks not just win some of these games, but blow a team out, So every game doesn't have to come down to the end and wearing yourself out and all that. Fans worrying constantly, stressing everybody out. And since that point, when they won Game 1, wasn't in blowout fashion, but it was a nice, comfortable win, but still wasn't a blowout. Then they had game 2 comfortably in the fourth quarter. They had about 8-10 point lead in the fourth quarter in game 2 of that first round series against Atlanta. It seems like it was so long ago, and they blew that lead, lost the game, and game 3, they go to Atlanta on the road, right? After that disastrous game 2 loss, and they're getting beat pretty good most of the game. Then in the fourth quarter, they make a wild rally and have a chance to win the game, up by 3 with about a minute to go. End up losing the game, blowing that lead late to fall down 2-1. And since that point, the Knicks have not just have they not lost since then, but they are doing something that they have never done in their history, and that is they are blowing teams out in the playoffs in these games, okay? Because after they fell down 2-1 in that first round against Atlanta, the next 2 games, they won the next game in Atlanta by 16 points. Then they won the next game at the Garden by, 29 points, I think it was, okay? These scores are getting outrageous now. And after the Knicks won by 29 in game 5 at the Garden to go up 3-2 in the series, that was the first time in their history where they had won consecutive playoff games by 15 points or more, okay? So like I said, the Knicks are a team historically that when they're good, they'll beat you in the playoffs, but every game historically for them is life or death, you know? Down to the wire type of ball games. Not these blowout games that we see a lot of teams get in the playoffs. But now, this Knicks team, things have changed. They've become that kind of team. I've said before, the Knicks right now, how they're playing better than I've ever seen them play in my life, okay? These last 10 games here in the playoffs. It is that serious. The numbers back it up. They have in their playoffs, right? They have the largest margin of victory average in playoff history, all right? And it's an incredible thing to see. This is a team who they're playing their best basketball at the most important time right now. It's such a long regular season, so long, and 82 games. I told y'all in early March I was ready for the playoffs to start, okay? I was ready for the playoffs to start. Took a break, covered the World Baseball Classic, went to Houston, went to Miami, came back. The NBA season was still going on, okay, for another 3 weeks or so. And listen, I had friends who during the season, all right, were be texting me like, hey, what's wrong with the Knicks? Why aren't they winning this game by more? I remember the last time the Knicks played the Brooklyn Nets, my boy Corey Bibb was blowing my phone up the whole game, upset that the Knicks were in a struggle against the Brooklyn Nets. He was like, this is not a championship team. I'm like, yo, this is a meaningless regular season game. The Knicks are not up for this game. All right, relax, okay? Okay, like you can't go crazy about a random regular season game, okay? But right now, the playoffs, the real season, the Knicks, they are playing their best ball. And like I said last week, the Knicks had the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference this season, the regular season. So it just shows you that they were not playing dominant basketball during the regular season. They came into this season as the favorites to win the Eastern Conference to get to the finals like they're about to do, okay? So coming into the year, they were the favorites to do what they're doing right now. But when the regular season, the long 82 regular season grind, the Knicks did not play like the best team in the East. The Detroit Pistons, who were the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, the Detroit Pistons, folks, were the best team in the Eastern Conference during the regular season, right? They smacked the Knicks around in 3 games they played against them this year, smacked them around in all 3 games. I mean, something ugly, you know? Had Knicks fans questioning a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? But I understood that Detroit wasn't going to be doing this in the playoffs. In the regular season and the playoffs are two different things. The Knicks haven't even had to play the Pistons because the Pistons, once the playoffs came, they got exposed and they were not able to make it right here to this round. They lost to Cleveland in the last round, Detroit did. And now we see what the Knicks are doing to Cleveland, okay, making mincemeat out of them. And it's an incredible thing. The head coach, Mike Brown, he is someone who, a couple of weeks ago, Knicks fans, all Knicks fans were ready to run this guy out of town, okay? 2 weeks ago, when they fell down 2-1 to Atlanta, all right? Knicks fans were upset. We know that the Knicks last season, they reached the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years, right? And when they lost that series, they fired the head coach, Tom Thibodeau, something that I did not agree with. A lot of people did not agree with it, but there were a lot of people who did agree with it because for years, a lot of Knicks fans were constantly bashing the previous coach, Tom Thibodeau, bashing him about his rotations, how he played players too many minutes, how he did not use his bench players enough, how he did not have a offensive philosophy that was up to today's times and standard, all right? And I wasn't a part of that camp, all right? Before Tom Thibodeau came in, the Knicks were an embarrassment, all right? They couldn't beat anybody, couldn't win a game, couldn't come close to making the playoffs, all right? A lot of losing, okay? And I'm going to get to some of that in a minute. We have a lot to talk about here, all right? And, yeah. But, so you bring in Mike Brown, right? And first of all, you gotta give this guy a lot of credit. But they bring him in, and again, I wasn't for firing Thibodeau. Mike Brown comes in, and at first, I was not crazy about the decision, and it took the Knicks several weeks before they came to the decision to hire Mike Brown. It seemed like Mike Brown was not, if they had their first choice, or second choice, or third choice, or what have you, it seemed like Mike Brown would not have been the guy who the Knicks would have hired, right? Jason Kidd, we heard the Knicks wanted him, and we heard that Jason Kidd wanted the Knicks. And at the time, he was under contract with Dallas. Dallas still wanted him, and we see Jason Kidd just got fired this past week. Excuse me, as the Dallas Mavericks have new management and all that. So a year too late for Jason Kidd and the Knicks, right? And Jason Kidd is somebody who, when I saw Tom Thibodeau was no longer going to be the coach, Jason Kidd was my first choice, okay? He played with the team in 2012, 2013 for one season, his last season playing in the NBA, and that season, the Knicks won their first playoff series in 13 years, won 54 games, had the second best record in the Eastern Conference, and to me, he was the biggest reason why. His leadership, all right? He was the de facto coach of that team, okay? And when he left, the next season, as soon as he was gone, the team fell back to crap, and they didn't make the playoffs again for 8 seasons when Tom Thibodeau came, his first year, okay? So I wanted Jason Kidd to be the coach when they got rid of Thibodeau. They couldn't get him. And then there were other guys. And then the Knicks wanted coaches who were under contract other places, all right? And they were not able to work out deals to free guys up. So eventually they decided on Mike Brown, who at first I was not crazy about it. And like, I'll tell y'all, I felt like Mike Brown, I had never been crazy about Mike Brown over the time he had been an NBA coach. And I went through this before. He coached LeBron James, young LeBron, when the Cavaliers got to the NBA Finals 19 years ago in 2007, when LeBron carried that team full of average players at best, okay? 4 years removed from high school LeBron, Mike Brown was the head coach of that team. And in fact, I was listening to an old report that I did on the radio from 2009 when LeBron was at the Garden, had a 50-point triple-double in Madison Square Garden. And I was listening to the report that I did, all right, and back in 2009, and, you know, I'm listening to it, and like, Mike Brown is talking as LeBron's head coach at Cleveland. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right. I forgot. Mike Brown was the coach of that Cleveland Cavaliers team, right? I didn't forget, but at the time, I was not thinking of hearing Mike Brown pop up on my report, okay, from 19 years ago. And yeah, it was Mike Brown, LeBron's coach with the Cavaliers. And so he had success with the Cavaliers, all right? 07, like I said, they made the finals. They lost, of course, because other team was much better, the Spurs, all right? One of their 5 championships with Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich. And, of course, the first one between, all right, Popovich and Duncan was against the Knicks in 99, okay? So, 07, they beat up on young LeBron and Mike Brown. And then the last 2 years that LeBron was in Cleveland, where Mike Brown was the coach, the Cavaliers had 2 60-plus win seasons, okay? The Knicks in their franchise, folks, have only had 2 61 seasons, okay? 1969-70 season and 1992-93 season, all right? When they lost, they failed to make the NBA Finals. They lost to the Chicago Bulls and Jordan. And this round here, the Eastern Conference Finals, after going up 2-0, all right? So the Knicks have not had a 61 season since 1992-93 season, okay? 33 years ago. Mike Brown, last 2 seasons, he was the head coach with LeBron in Cleveland, won 60-plus games. But I looked at it like, okay, well, he has LeBron James. Any coach would have won 60 games with LeBron James. I mean, and maybe I'm wrong, all right? Maybe that's not fair, but that's the way. So I just really wasn't sure how to judge Mike Brown because you got LeBron James, who I believe is the greatest player of all time, all right? You don't like that? You got LeBron James on your team, carrying everybody. I'm not sure how great of a coach you are, like how much credit you get for that, right? So then, Mike Brown, when LeBron leaves to go to Miami, the Cavaliers get rid of Mike Brown. Mike Brown resurfaces with the LA Lakers and Kobe Bryant. He coaches Kobe Bryant, and in fact, another memorable night that Mike Brown was coaching at the Garden as the opposing head coach, okay, and a night of glory for the Knicks was the Linsanity night. The night when Linsanity was born, when Kobe Bryant, all right, the night before, was asked by media in Washington, D.C., after the Lakers had faced the Wizards, with the Knicks game being the next game for the Lakers, and Jeremy Lin had about 2 or 3 games already of playing well, Knicks winning after they couldn't win a game, with Carmelo Anthony leading the way. Carmelo Anthony all of a sudden got hurt. In comes Jeremy Lin, and Knicks are hot, about a 3-game win streak or so. Reporters in D.C., so Kobe, you're facing the Knicks tomorrow. Jeremy Lin is playing really well. He's starting to become a bit of a phenomenon here in the NBA. You Kobe, you go to the Garden. Every time you go there, Knicks fans show up for you and all that, because we know the Knicks, during most of Kobe's time with the Lakers, were bad. So when the Knicks were bad, during those times, you see how y'all see Knicks fans in other arenas right now taking over? Well, during the bad Knicks years, it would be like that for the Knicks against certain teams, okay? And Kobe and the Lakers, whenever he came to the Garden, Kobe and Lakers fans took over the joint, and they would destroy the Knicks all the time. So now, 2012, February 2012, before Kobe now is making his annual showcase at Madison Square Garden. Remember, he only plays at the Garden once a year, a West Coast team. Reporters asking Kobe in D.C. after he played the Wizards, Kobe, what do you think of Jeremy Lin? Kobe's like, who? reporters say Jeremy Lin. You know, Jeremy Lin with the Knicks. Kobe, who? Who's that? I don't know who you're talking about. Okay, great. So they played a game at the Garden. Jeremy Lin had 38 points, 7 assists on Kobe. Again, no Carmelo, who's supposed to be the best player of the team. God's gift to the Knicks, if you ask many Knicks fans at that time, okay? No Amari. Amari, his brother passed away at the time, so he was not playing either, all right, early on at that time. And then Jeremy Lin comes out there, busts up Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. That might be the best Knicks game I've ever been to. For a long time, I said that's the best Knicks game I've ever been to. But now, since the last, 3 years or so, the Knicks have been in some big-time playoff games. I gotta rethink that. But the electricity, I've never seen the Garden more packed than it was for Jeremy Lin. And during that time, and the light bulbs, you look in the crowd and you see light bulbs flashing everywhere. I've never seen anything like that since then, okay? But the head coach of the Lakers that night was Mike Brown, okay? And Magic Johnson, I remember, I was surprised by this, but the year that Mike Brown was the Lakers head coach, Magic Johnson was always highly critical publicly of Mike Brown, which surprised me because Magic Johnson being a brother, and being for black people and black causes all of his life, I was surprised how openly Magic Johnson criticized Mike Brown. And Mike Brown got the next season with the Lakers. He got about the first handful of games, and then he was fired by the Lakers. And again, Magic Johnson, I'm sure, was a big part of him being fired in L.A. So that was Mike Brown's second experience as the head coach after LeBron in Cleveland, Kobe, right? And then he gets another opportunity with the Cleveland Cavaliers, okay, before LeBron comes back. The season before LeBron James came back to Cleveland, Mike Brown was the head coach of the Cavaliers again. And it was not a good season, all right? That was young Kyrie and some other guys. That was not a good season. Mike Brown got fired again, all right, after 1 year in Cleveland. So now I'm looking at it, his last two spots, okay, the Lakers and Cleveland again, all right, not that great of a job. His first time as the head coach, he's LeBron's head coach, and LeBron's the best player ever, so I don't know how much credit I can give Mike Brown for that, right? So then he becomes an assistant head coach next to Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. When they're winning their championships, they won 4 championships, all right, in the Steph Curry, Steve Kerr era. Mike Brown was there for all of them. He was sitting next to Steve Kerr. And he also, before he became the Cavaliers coach the first time, was an assistant to Greg Popovich in San Antonio. So, and then, after sitting next to Steve Kerr in Golden State, the Sacramento Kings come calling and hire Mike Brown to be their head coach, right? And in Mike Brown's first season as the head coach, he gets the Sacramento Kings into the playoffs for the first time since about 2005, 2006. I think it was since 2006. So that's one thing that Mike Brown did that did impress me, okay? But then next season after they made the playoffs, okay, they make the playoffs. They face Mike Brown's former team, all right, the Golden State Warriors, who he had been an assistant with for years. Immediately, his first year in Sacramento, have a good season, gets them to the playoffs. They have a 7-game series against the Warriors and lose 7 games. But the Kings that season had like the #1 offensive efficiency in the NBA. #1 that season, okay? And the defense was pretty good too. And we know that Mike Brown comes from the Spurs, like I said, where Greg Popovich and Duncan and them, that philosophy, they were all about defense, all right? So we know, and with the Cavaliers teams, his first time in Cleveland, with LeBron as we hit 12 o'clock here at WACR Sports, from the home of the last New York City collegiate basketball champion. And so we saw the Cavaliers with Mike Brown, with LeBron, play great defense, right? So we know that he had great defense philosophies as well. So Mike Brown in Sacramento, after that first season, would the Kings make the playoffs? The next year, the Kings have a good year again, but the West is very tough. They ended up not making the playoffs, okay, that next season. And then by the middle of the next season, which was last season, Mike Brown got fired in Sacramento, okay? And then last summer, the Knicks, after they fired Tom Thibodeau, again, which I did not agree with, and they try and get several other guys who are under contract other places, can't get them, so the Knicks decide on Mike Brown. At first, because of all the reasons I just explained to you all, I was not crazy about the hire, okay? But the more I thought about it, I ended up talking myself into the fact that he was the most qualified person available, okay? For the fact he had coached LeBron and Kobe, okay? So if you can coach LeBron and Kobe, all these other guys can't tell you nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I coach LeBron and Kobe. Who are you? What are you going to tell me? You know what I'm saying? Fall in line, all right? And, as I said, he had been sitting on the bench with San Antonio, sitting on the bench with the Warriors, okay? Through those 4 championships. He saw the offense, how Steve Kerr, staff, how they ran the whole thing, okay? All right? So, after thinking about his resume and all his experience, I was like, you know what? This guy actually is the most qualified person who they could have hired, okay? And then we had the season, all right? And again, I said the Knicks clearly did not play like this during the regular season, or else they would have been the number 1 team in the regular season going into the playoffs, but they were not. Again, we said how Detroit were the best team in the East in the regular season. They smacked the Knicks around all 3 times they played them, okay? Ugly. And I said how, hey, after 3 games of the first round series against Atlanta, most Knicks fans were ready to run this guy out of town, okay? All right? And now, 3 weeks later, Mike Brown is looking like a genius, all right? He's looking like the man. 10 straight wins for the Knicks by an historic margin of victory, all right? Average per game. Mike Brown, all right, after the Knicks lost that second straight game by 1 point. Again, the Knicks have only lost 2 games in these playoffs, and they were each by a point. Like I said, the only team in NBA playoff history to win 2 straight games by 1 point, all right? And since then, Mike Brown made an adjustment, all right? The team woke up, started playing better defense, all right? And I see my Uncle Quay Cool watching and commenting, and I'll have you call in a few minutes. And I must say that he, all season long, when we would talk about the Knicks, he would always say, they got to play better defense. They got to play better defense. They're capable of playing better defense. If they play their best defense, they can beat anybody and be as good as anybody, you know? And after they lost that second game to Atlanta in Game 3, where they were getting blown out pretty much, well, on the verge of getting blown out the whole game, fought it, then made a mad late 4th quarter rally, and almost stole the game, but lost, blew it at the end again, down 2-1. Everybody ready to fire Mike Brown. Since that point, the Knicks defense has been A+, the best in the league, the catalyst to what they are doing right now. And another big adjustment the Mike Brown head coach did, he put Karl Anthony Towns at the top of the key and started running offense through him. and having him make decisions, taking the ball out of Brunson's hand, not having him have the ball all the time, and the opposing team, their game plan is, hey, just make it tough for Brunson and throw as many guys as we can on him, get physical with him, and all right. So now that's not what the Knicks offense is now every time down the court. Now the ball is being thrown to 7 foot tall, #1 overall pick in the NBA draft in 2015, Karl Anthony Towns, okay, multi-talented gentleman. The ball is being thrown to him at the top of the key a lot, and he is looking over, all right, 7 foot tall, so he can see everything. And guys are cutting, guys are moving. Guys know, look, he has the ball. He's looking to pass to us. He can see the whole floor, okay? All right? This is not Kyler Murray, who some people think that Jalen Brunson looks like, incidentally. But NFL quarterback Kyler Murray, under 6 foot tall. I love him, love his talent, but sometimes you see, he has trouble seeing over the line at times and seeing some of his guys because of his height, okay? Karl Anthony Towns, all right, 7 foot tall. He can see everything, all right? As Michael Stone checks in. What's up, Mike? Another big Knicks fan. We're going to the finals, baby. One more win. One more win. And you know what, folks? Usually, I don't want to jinx things, but as we know, not only are the Knicks playing so great where they're rolling through teams and have won 10 straight games, but no team ever in the history of the NBA playoffs has been down 3-0 in a playoff series and come back to win. That's never happened. It almost happened almost 3 years ago when the Miami Heat somehow jumped up a seed, Miami Heat team that ended up making the finals that year, and they went through the Knicks in the second round that year. A disappointing playoff defeat for the Knicks. But right now, that's a thing of the past. But the next series for the Heat in the conference finals, they went up 3-0 on Boston, who were the favorites by far to win that series. And then Boston came back, won the next 3 games to force a Game 7 at home in Boston. And then in Game 7 at home in Boston, with the Celtics having a chance to make history, be the first team to come back from 3-0 down to win the series. And, of course, only time it has been done in baseball was when the Boston Red Sox in the 2004 American League Championship Series were down 3-0 to the Yankees, came back and won 4 straight, right? So the Celtics were trying to be the only team to do it in NBA. And in Game 7 on their home court, their best player, Jason Tatum, gets hurt early in that game, and Miami blows Boston out, okay? And the Heat, of course, went to the finals that year and lost to Nikola Jokic and Denver. Who, by the way, okay, you know what? I was going to make a Carmelo Anthony joke about how Carmelo Anthony wore 15 with Denver, right? All you Carmelo fans, he won 15 with Denver, and the aforementioned NBA Finals from 3 years ago, Denver Nuggets, their great player, Nikola Jokic. Guess who wears 15 for Denver now, folks? Not Carmelo Anthony, Nikola Jokic, okay? So he took Carmelo's number, and Carmelo, by the way, all you Carmelo lovers, won 2 playoff series, 2 in 7 years with Denver, got out of the first round 1 time. He made the playoffs 7 years in a row, all right? I mean, 8 teams make it per league, so it's not hard to make the NBA. I mean, 8 teams make it per conference, so it's not hard to make the playoffs, all right? So simply making the playoffs in the NBA is not an accomplishment. So Denver with Carmelo made the playoffs 7 straight years. All 7 years he was there with Denver, got out of the first round 1 time. Nikola Jokic comes, takes his number, like Carmelo wants to leave Denver so bad. He wants to leave so bad to come to the Knicks, okay? What a disaster that was. Then Jokic comes, takes his number 15, and look at what he did, all right? And now we see a guy, and Jalen Brunson, okay, a real superstar, carrying a team, okay? I mean, all you Carmelo fans who wanted to see his jersey go to the Raptors, all right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all thought he was some star. I don't know why. But, okay, he's about to be forgotten about in Knicks history, okay? 5 more wins, he's about to be forgotten about, okay? Okay? Please, it's about to be laughable, the whole Carmelo Anthony era, okay? When they were as bad as any team. I had to sit through that. I sat through all those games, did reports on those games, all right? But hey, Jalen Brunson, a real star, unbelievable, the whole crew, all right? Mikal Bridges, got to give him credit. You know what? And I just want to say, and these Knicks, okay, not only are they a great basketball team right now, but they are an easy team to root for. Easy team to root for. A collection of good guys, a collection of smart guys with a high basketball IQ. What a breath of fresh air, okay? High basketball IQ, okay? Carmelo fans, all right? That's the difference. And, hey, Mikal Bridges, I just mentioned, OG Anunoby, all right? Karl Anthony Towns, the personal strife and hardship that this man has had to go through, Karl Anthony Towns. And for him to be thriving the way he is, unbelievable. My hat's off to him. He's a great young man, impressive. Of course, JB, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart. I mean, 3 of these guys were teammates in college at Villanova. They won championships together in Villanova. So they have great chemistry, all right? They're all smart, all right? And again, I mean, a bunch of great guys who are easy to root for, okay? And I felt this way since last season, and, you know, recently I've had people tell me this, right? I'm like, yeah, it's true. But let me do this, okay? Uncle Quay Cool, if you are listening, call up 212-650-6903. That's 212-650-6903. Let's talk Knicks. I promise I won't bring out Carmelo Anthony. All right, I promise. Okay. Those of you all, my Uncle Quay Cool. Big Carmelo Anthony fan during the Carmelo years. He argued with me about Carmelo as much as anybody, all right? And many of you, it was knockout, drag-out fights. And so when I talk Carmelo, right, he does not want to engage in that kind of discussion. So if you're listening, if you call in, I won't bring out Carmelo Anthony, all right? Let's just talk Knicks. Let's talk Knicks, all right? Let's talk this great team, all right? Or anybody else that wants to call up, phone number again, 212-650-6903. And you know what? On that note, hey, we gotta hear again that great Knicks song. All right, folks. Let's hit it, folks. Okay.
On the floor, scoring more is 94, and the Knicks are hardcore. And I'll tell you like this, we ain't never looked sharper. With Hubert, Bonner, Gray, and Harper, it's the Knicks, and we're back on pace. Everyone's gearing up for the championship race, and the fans are going crazy, and they're doing it for a reason. Cause 94 is the Knicks of the season. You better believe that it's got all that it takes. We're shooting 3-pointers, and we're running fast breaks, and if your defense makes a mistake, then bam, you ain't ghost in your face. This is a team you don't want to miss. We are New York. We are the New York Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York.
And again, okay, so the number to call in again is 212-650-6903. 212-650-6903. 212-650-6903. Okay. I believe Uncle Quay is calling in now. So let me see. Let's see. Hello. Are you there on the air? Can you hear me? There's a delay in my headphones, so hold on a minute. Oh, Dave. Hey, Dave. Yes, Dave, I can hear you. Hold on one second, okay? Because, yeah, I can hear you, Dave. Hold on one second. Hold on one second, okay? Because, yeah, I can hear you. Hey, Dave, can you hear me? You know what? Hold on one second, folks. I have a delay in my headphone. Hold on. Oh, man. Hello? Dave? Okay. All right, cool. Hey, Dave, how are you doing? Thanks for calling in. Hold on. My Uncle Quay Cool. Is that you on the line? Okay. All right, cool. So hold on. No, wait. Dave, stay there. So I have two great basketball historians on the line right now. So first, okay, so Dave, this is my Uncle Quay Cool, and Quay Cool, this is Dave German. I met him a few years ago. He's a big, like I said, basketball fan, historian, and all that. So real quick, Uncle Quay, hold on one second, okay? All right, Dave, what did you want to say?
Of New York sports history. There might be something that might be happening 50, 60, 70 years ago. I doubt it. But the only thing I can think of with this Knicks run is the Yankees in that dynasty run in the late 90s into the early 2000s. They went from down 2-1 in 98 in the ALCS against Cleveland and then won the next games. Then they swept the World Series. Then they swept everything in 99. They swept everything into the World Series in 2000. They lost Game 3 to the Mets and then won the next two. And the only thing that compares that is this Knicks run. But I think this Knicks run is even more impressive just by virtue of the fact that the way they are winning, they're winning in dominant fashion is just really, except for the first game of the series, of course, it's just been unbelievable. So tip the cap to the Knicks for just this incredible run, and it's really unprecedented. I saw the 1970 Knicks. You know, it's a great team, but even that team didn't play to the level of this team the way they're playing. Unselfish basketball, passing the ball around, getting everyone involved, the bench contributions, timely defense, you know, stifling the opposition, picking up a half court, getting steals to half court. I mean, they're doing everything right. And, you know, before the season started, you know, the mantra was NBA Finals. No one was saying NBA Championship. They were just saying NBA Finals. And there's no reason why, I'm not going to predict that they're going to win the finals, but there's no reason why they cannot beat Oklahoma City or San Antonio the way they're playing right now.
Okay, Dave, hang right there. Uncle Quay, tell us your thoughts.
I'll tell you, and I appreciate Dave's comments. The only thing I would disagree with is the two championship Knicks, I think, had all those qualities. They played great defense. They played together as a unit, and they overcame incredible obstacles. The man for man, the LA teams they beat were better teams if you look at just the roster. But the Knicks brought a unity of purpose that resulted in championships, and players sacrificed individual accolades to accomplish a common goal. The game that Walt Frazier played, that Willis Reed limped out on the court to score 4 points. It's one of the greatest games I've ever seen in a playoff setting. 38 points, 19 assists. I think it was 7-8 rebounds. I mean, it was really special. But at any rate, getting to this year's Knicks, Samara, we've talked about this Knicks team and this coach all the season long. I too had some apprehension when, for the same reasons that you mentioned, when Mike Brown was hired. But when I saw him accomplish and the way he was going about it throughout the season, I was impressed. I saw him prepare a team not to win the next game, not to finish 1 or 2 or 4, whatever in the division, but to be ready for a playoff run. And now anybody's number that's called, they come out. You look at Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet was brought on I think a 2-way contract. He didn't know he was going to make the team. And the way he coached them, he gave them the confidence to get in there, step up, to play better defense than Shamet has ever played in his career. Defense became paramount under Mike Brown, and playing together became paramount. If you remember when they were playing Atlanta and they lost 2 games by 1 point, you and I talked, and I said, I think this might be the best thing that could happen because it's going to impress upon the Knicks the need to play at a certain level on not only every game, but on every possession. Playoffs are very, very different than the regular season, and after those 2, you could see a difference in intensity in the way the Knicks went about their business. And that has carried through for a 10-game winning streak, longer than they had anywhere in the season this year. I think 8 games was their largest winning streak during the season. And the way this team is playing and the belief they have, the grit they have, in addition to the talent they have, I'm looking at a championship. I don't care. I mean, I think at this point, we're pretty certain that we will be going to the championship, and I don't care if it's Oak City or San Antonio. They better be concerned about playing the New York Knicks.
I agree. Okay, now, Dave, I want to ask you, the Western Conference Finals right now, San Antonio and OKC. I'm not sure how much you gotten a chance to see of that, but just knowing what you know about the 2 teams and what you have seen, who do you see coming out of that series, and do you think one opponent is a better fit for the Knicks?
Absolutely. I think OKC is going to win this series, but I think San Antonio is very beatable. Yes, they've got a very good team, only 2 games below what Oklahoma City did in the regular season in terms of wins, but it's still a young, inexperienced team, and you put them in front of that Garden crowd, and I think that that's going to be a real intimidating factor for them. Well, OKC, they've had the championship. They see themselves as a team, perhaps to cement themselves one of the great teams that can win another championship. I think that would be the tougher matchup. I think both are beatable. I think if the Knicks do play San Antonio, I would pick the Knicks to win that. OKC, though, it's going to be a tougher matchup based on their experience last year. It should be a really good series, but I think the Knicks, you definitely want to face San Antonio.
And here's the thing about it that's interesting now is that these teams, both of them have gotten some injuries. The Thunder, they're dealing with some key injuries. Their second best player, Jalen Williams, has had hamstring issues the entire season. He missed most of the first 2 rounds, and he came back for Game 1, and then in Game 2, he re-injured the hamstring, did not play the last game, and one of their key bench players for the Thunder, A.J. Mitchell, is also not playing tonight. So they have some injuries. The Knicks right now are healthy. Knock on wood, nobody is hurt. Uncle Quaco, in this Western Conference Final Series, with Oklahoma City having 2 guys not playing, the Spurs had everybody playing last game. Do you think the Spurs can figure out a way to win this series against down 2-1 right now with Game 4 tonight in their home arena?
Well, I tell you, I think that these are 2 very, very good teams. They're very different teams in the way, particularly on the offensive end. They're both 2 great defensive teams, but for different reasons there too. But I don't. I'm waiting to see like everybody else. But I gotta tell you, man, the confidence I have in my New York Knicks, I don't even care. I would let the best team, whoever wins, come on out the West and see what they can do against us. But this is a conversation I have had with my brother, throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs. And my position hasn't changed. You know, I don't care who we play. You know, I think the Knicks are good enough to win a championship, whoever steps on the court on the other side.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so I have a question for both of you. Dave, I'm going to give it to you first, since Uncle Quay, I just had you talking. The Knicks starting five, you know, I've heard, and I definitely can imagine, but I've heard people say that because I've heard for years about how great the Knicks starting five was when they won the championships in the 70s and how well they passed the ball and played team basketball and all that. And a lot of people I've heard compare the Knicks' current starting five to that of the Knicks championship team. So, Dave, what do you think about that?
No question about it. You know, your uncle was mentioning before about Clyde and all those guys. A striking similarity between the 70 team and this team is, your uncle will remember this, they had what was called the Minutemen, and that was Mike Reardon, Dave Stallworth, and Cazzie Russell, who came off the bench in that 70 championship team. And they gave instant offense. They gave a lot of time off for the players to, the starters to get their rest and everything during the game, and really provided quality minutes. And you've seen the same thing with Shamet and those guys too, coming off the bench, giving quality minutes, doing a great job, and it's strikingly similar to that 70 team. I did want to mention just another thing. You know, you talk about Villanova and these guys. This Knicks team might be a template for other teams going forward, in the sense that you might see other coaches say, hey, look, they've got a bunch of guys who played together in college. Now they're playing together in the pros. Maybe we should try and do the same thing, too. Draft multiple players from the same school who, had played together or whatever. They're just carrying over their success in Villanova, playing the same way they did at Nova with the Knicks, and combine it, of course, with, Towns and Brunson and stuff like that. And you got, the recipe for a championship team. The other reason why I think the Knicks are doing well also is, and Samora, you and I have talked about this in the past, I have my tough defeat theory. There's only one team I can think of in the history of pro sports who came out of nowhere to win a championship, and that was the 1969 Miracle Mets. But every other team that's won a championship, you look at what led up to the championship. You've had some kind of heartbreak. I think the Knicks postseason falling short the last 2 years has now got them over the hump this year. They remember they've got the bitter taste the last 2 years, and sometimes you need that with extra motivation. I think you saw that in Game 4 of the Atlanta series, and they have just carried it through. So I think the last 2 seasons, what happened really has helped propel them to get over the top right now. And, one final comment about OKC, as talented as they are, you look at the Denver Nuggets, and people say, wow, the Denver Nuggets, look at that lineup. They're going to win multiple championships. They've just won the one championship, and that's it. OKC could be another Denver Nuggets as well, too. So there's that flip side to that team. So just want to share those thoughts.
All right. Uncle Quay, cool?
Starting with similarities, I mean, there are certainly similarities in the way teams play together. Dave was absolutely right. I love the bench back in those days.
Hello? Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, no. Yeah. I think okay, yeah, so I see we lost him. So, okay, let me see if he calls back. Dave, you're still there, right?
I'm here.
Yeah. Let me see. There was one, definitely the, you know what? You're right. You don't see a lot of teams who, are able to, win a championship without having much heartbreak, and it's rare. And Mike Brown, he's definitely really turned things around. And what you were talking about, how other teams may follow the same template as what the Knicks are doing with the college guys who play together. And so the Knicks have 3 of those guys who won championships together at Villanova. And they played, they're not one-and-done guys, so they were ready and seasoned when they came into the NBA. That was a big thing. Let me see if I can get my uncle back on. Uncle Kwaku, are you there? Okay.
Realize that the call had dropped. You guys.
It's all good. It's all good. So it's all good. So just continue what you were saying.
Well, I don't know how much you heard, but I was looking. I thought that Dave's comments on the team is talking about the bench of
Yeah, that was where you left off. Yeah.
you know, was right on. You know, I think that the way the teams played as one, they were all connected on both ends of the floor, and I think that's also a similarity. Beyond that, it's hard for me to make that comparison because the players were very different. You know, there's a lot of talk now about Jalen Brunson being, you know, the greatest Knick ever. And, you know, I kind of challenge that because in my mind, that title still belongs to Walt Frazier. What Walt did in that period when he came onto the Knicks to bring them to championship level and the way he played on both ends of the court, still, you know, I hold him as the greatest Knick ever. Jalen is playing better defense, but Clyde was the man. That's how he got the name Clyde. He was a thief. So, you know, that's that. But again, looking at the other comment in terms of Villanova, I think that's crucial because these guys are best friends. They play together with a certain love for one another, winning championships in college and trying to get they understand what they have to do now. I don't know how easy that is to emulate, for teams to try to get players from the same college that are as good as these three. Because not only do they play together, but they're great players. And again, I'm not saying it isn't. To be honest, I don't watch a whole lot of college ball till March Madness. so you know, I'm not prepared to make that. But I love the Villanova connection. I love how it's spread. You know, at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of conversation about Cat not fitting into Brown's system and how he's going to have to change. Well, he did, and he bought in. And, you know, and again, kudos to Coach Brown. A lot of this success I have to give to him. He has prepared this team for moments just like this. This team, their whole attitude, I think, is reflective of what the coach has instilled in them. You know, I cannot imagine this team going this far under Tibbs. So again, I'm just thrilled. I'm looking at. You know, we were talking the other day, Maury, and you know, you had picked the Knicks in 5, and I said I'm not going to be surprised if they sweep them. Well, I still think that they might sweep them, or they might do it in 5. I don't care. Let's just get it done and get to the West Coast. And, you know, either one of those teams, I think that right now, the way the Knicks are playing, I think they're the best team in basketball.
Listen, it's going to be a sweep, no doubt about it. With the way they're playing, 10 straight wins, they're going to sweep them like they swept the Sixers. I mean, the Cavaliers are done. To me, they were done after they collapsed in Game 1. And they, all right, after yesterday, the first game at home, they still could not. The Knicks led the whole game, all right? The Cavaliers.
Game!
Yeah, the whole game they led. The Cavaliers needed that game desperately, and they still could do nothing with the Knicks. And at the end of that game, you saw at the end, there was one play with Jalen Brunson, and the Cavaliers defense just all stood there as Brunson went to the basket. They just like looked like that was just kind of like just it was a symbol of them giving up, like they quit, you know. So I think it's going to be a sweep. I just want to say two things also. You know, it's interesting because I did think, you know, when they fired Thibodeau last year, now I felt like because the starting 5 was so together and so smart, and you know, you have 3 guys that played together at college and won 2 championships together, I did feel like they did not need a whole lot of direction in terms of a new head coach, you know. Like they didn't need much, but they definitely needed a different offensive philosophy, which Mike Brown had brought. But, you know, like when you see these guys now playing on the court, like you see, you know, like just how much they've been together and how comfortable they are playing with each other. And another thing is that what's interesting is that these guys, you know, Brunson won 2 championships at Villanova, and so did Mikal Bridges. Josh Hart was there for the first one, and you know, DiVincenzo, who was with them. And you know, these guys were kind of slept on in the draft because Jalen Brunson was like a second-round pick, and which is crazy. And he was always like their best scorer and all that. In college, he was a second round pick, I guess, because of his height, you know. But I mean, these guys, you know, Jalen Brunson could have been had by a lot of teams, but it's really impressive. But Dave, just you know, what do you think about? I hear some people say that if Jalen Brunson, the Knicks win this championship, there's a long ways to go still, you know. So, but they say, oh, like he would be the greatest Knick of all time, and I'm like, okay, well, there are several other Knicks who have 2 championships, so you know, but for Jalen Brunson's case, you know, it would seem like it would be such a monumental accomplishment for the Knicks after not winning a championship in 53 years. You know, you think back to when the Knicks won a championship, the first one, the league had only been in existence for about 24, 25 years, and the Knicks haven't won one now in 53 years, and we've seen all the losing and bad teams they've had, you know, over the years, and how hard it was to win here, just, you know, dealing with the pressure of playing for the Knicks, because a lot of times I felt like the Knicks over the years had talented teams, but it takes more than that. You got to go out there and actually do it under the pressure and the bright lights, and so many Knicks teams with talent were incompetent when it came to that. So Brunson being able to get them over the hump and the mental toughness, what do you think?
Well, first of all, just a comment about your uncle's comment about Walt Frazier and being one of the greatest Knicks. You know, I put him and Ewing, you know, 1-2 as the greatest Knicks. You know, both, you know, for so many reasons, great Knicks. Clyde might be the most unsung hero in New York sports history from the standpoint of Game 7 in 1970. He scored 37 points, had a bunch of rebounds, steals. He shut down Jerry West. One of the great all-time NBA performances in a Game 7. Maybe arguably the greatest. And all people talk about, if you talk about Game 7, nobody talks about that. They talk about Willis Reed and coming out, hobbling out with 4 points and everything, which was incredible. And it was great. I mean, one of the great moments in New York sports history. But poor Clyde, he's an afterthought when people talk about that Knicks championship team in that Game 7 or whatever. So I just wanted to throw in that comment because I think Walt deserves, you know, certainly more praise, you know, that he's gotten when people talk about that Game 7. In terms of Brunson, I don't, you know, he's going to go down Game 1, that performance in Game 1 with the comeback. You know, we talk about great moments in New York sports history. Reggie Jackson with the 3 homers in 77. You know, I can go on and on about great performances. The Brunson performance in that, what was the second greatest fourth quarter comeback of all time, is going to be up there. So it certainly puts him in the pantheon of New York greats. But Clyde won the 2 championships. Ewing didn't win the championships, but there for the 14 seasons in a row, they came close. He was a steady performer his entire career. I think, you know, Brunson certainly on his way to be considered the greatest Knick, but even winning a championship and everything, I wouldn't yet put him at the Clyde Patrick Ewing level.
I certainly agree, and as noteworthy as Jalen's performance was in Game 1, that Game 7 that Clyde played, I don't think you can compare it. Because again, 36 and 19 assists. It wasn't just the points. 19, not 8.
Yep.
19 assists, 8 rebounds to win, not to stay alive, not to win a first game, but to win a championship. That's it for me. I don't know how you're going to ever beat that.
Right.
I can't imagine the kind of game. A couple of other quick points. You know, you look at these teams. I mean, you look at what the Knicks are doing. The Knicks are not beating bums. Philadelphia, Cleveland, these are very good basketball teams.
And you know what? To your point, though the Knicks are beating them so bad, some people are questioning if these teams are really that good.
That's my point. And you know, they were good until they played the Knicks.
I know.
One of the folks that I'm really disgusted with in their commentary is Charles Barkley, who after every game, after every quarter, every halftime that the Knicks are up, all he has to say is, well, Cleveland is choking. Cleveland's not doing this. Cleveland is not doing that. The problem with Cleveland is they're playing the New York Knicks. That's the problem. And he never says how well the Knicks are playing. He just keeps talking about how poorly. This is happening because of how poorly Cleveland is playing. If they did this or they did that. And, the reason they're playing poorly is that defense that the Knicks are putting on. They're creating countless turnovers and turning those turnovers into points. I'd love for him to wake up and start to give credit to the Knicks instead of just looking at Cleveland as bums.
You know what? We know Charles Barkley has always been a Knicks hater, always. He did, when the game was over last night, when they were going to the post-game show, he did get up and he broke out the broom and he was sweeping around the studio, so even Chuck,
Sweeping, but he's sweeping because he thinks that Cleveland has folded.
Yeah.
But the reason it's over is because the Cleveland has these two big men. They're not using them enough. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. They don't. It's every reason for this success is because of the failure of Cleveland and not the greatness of New York. Yeah, he believes they're going to get swept, but because Cleveland is playing so poorly, and that's my issue.
Right. Okay. Now, real quick. So now the Game 7. Now it's interesting because I heard Walt Clyde Frazier. He was on the radio about 10 days ago. A great interview with him, and he was saying how going into that Game 7, of course, no one knew if Willis was going to play, and he said he went into the locker room. He said that he didn't even know, but that Willis was at the arena the whole day, and so he said he didn't even know that until recently. Somebody told him that, but he said that when he said he got to the Madison Square Garden like in the afternoon, and Willis was in the trainer's room, and no one knew if he was going to play or not, and he said that Wilt Chamberlain was so dominant in Game 6 without him that he made mincemeat of the Knicks front line, and he said that they didn't think they had a chance to win without him, and he said, of course, you all know how he came to the tunnel, and he said that he looked at Jerry West's face and Wilt and Elgin Baylor, and they were just all looking at Willis walking out and mesmerized and kind of like, oh no, and he made the first two shots of the game, and so people, they were like, hey, you had that big stat line that you all mentioned, and people always say, hey, you got robbed, you should have been the Finals MVP, and Walt, he always has looked up to Willis as a heroic figure, and he said that, hey, without Willis coming out and playing, and he said once they made those first two shots, the Lakers were done. And he said, that was the biggest reason why. He said that's the biggest reason why we won that game.
I just one last quick. And we talked about it. We talked. Who the great Knicks are: Frazier, Ewing. You better put Willis Reed in that list. Willis Reed was as important as any other Knick in the history of this franchise. And Clyde did all the things he did, but Clyde always talks, and you talk about the locker room presence, the captain. He talks about him with such revere, the captain.
Yep.
And the captain at 6'11" was playing against the most dominant force in basketball in Wilt Chamberlain, and would play him to a standstill. It's incredible what this guy did with the stature that he brought to the game. I love Patrick Ewing. I thought he was an incredible Knick, incredible player, but I don't know that I put him above Willis Reed even.
Right, is that
saying when you look at Knicks history, the NBA starts 46, 47. The Knicks have really good teams, 52, 53, 54, and then it's a huge drop-off, and they go on a drought for over a decade. But the turnaround really begins when they draft Willis Reed in 1964. And I don't think he was even I could be wrong, but I don't know if he was even their first pick. He might have even been their second pick. I'm not sure. But
he might have been. I don't remember either.
They picked him in 64, and it took a little time, but you start to see the turnaround, and then all of a sudden they make the playoffs in 67, 68, 69, they come close, losing to the Celtics and get over the top in 70. But it all started with Willis Reed. They built around Willis Reed, then getting Clyde, around 66, 67, Bill Bradley, the great DeBusschere trade, Dick Barnett they get, I believe, from the Lakers. But Willis was the fulcrum there. And even in 73, the inspirational play of Willis, who also was hurt, not as bad as 70, but, was hurt in 73, had to retire in 74, was very inspirational to that 73 championship team. I just want to quickly just mention two things, not to get off topic about discussing Willis, but one is fun fact for your listeners. If the Knicks win the championship, they'll be the first NBA team since the 2002 Lakers to not win the division and win an NBA championship, which is, I think, pretty noteworthy. And it goes to show, to your point, Samori, about people panicking about the Knicks play and everything regular season. As you said, don't worry, they'll be okay and everything. This is proof pudding. They didn't win their division, yet they're playing like they have the best record in the NBA. The other thing I want to say is I tip my cap to the Knicks fans. I'm not talking about the Knicks fans in this regard. I'm talking about every series. And I don't think these are necessarily people who even live in Atlanta or live in Cleveland in particular, or even in Philadelphia. I think these are people who took their hard-earned money and flew down to Atlanta and flew out to Cleveland. Every game, it's like unbelievable. I mean, last night they were chanting "Let's go Knicks." It sounded like the Garden in the last fourth quarter. I think that's great for the Knicks, but I think more so why it helps the Knicks is I think it's very unsettling when you're a home player like Embiid was, and going up to the free throw in your home arena, and there's booze cascading down. I think that really had a negative impact on those teams, and I tip my cap to Knicks fans who traveled. I think it's made a big difference in terms of all three series and their performance on the road.
Just so you know, Dave, I lived in Atlanta for 20 years, and yes, there were a lot of Knicks fans that traveled, but there was a strong Knicks presence that lived in Atlanta. I used to go to games, and I was not alone cheering for the Knicks. I'm talking about throughout the season, not even playoff time when you had the folks coming down to the games. There's always been a strong Knicks presence in Atlanta that would rival the Atlanta fans in their arena. I don't know if that's the case in Cleveland or in Philly. Actually, in Philly, I don't know. I think it was maybe more true, but in Atlanta, no, that was the case all year round.
And a lot of people were Walt Frazier fans because Walt was from Atlanta.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't even understand, in terms of the traveling fans, how are they even able to get tickets? I mean, I don't understand how there's not enough season ticket holders and local fans are ready to buy that even makes this possible in terms of the traveling Knicks fans.
Well, what's interesting? What's interesting is that some of these fans, season ticket holders for any of these teams, like even Knicks fans who I know that have season tickets, like a lot of these fans, when the playoffs come, they know that the people are willing to pay so much for the ticket. Like a lot of these season ticket holders will sell their tickets for a lot of money. So, but like obviously right now the Knicks are playing so well, it's other Knicks fans who are buying these tickets at the Garden. But some of these other places, some of these fans who season ticket holders, okay, playoffs come, okay, I can make some money now, and some of them are probably selling them and not caring. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to get the most money I can get. So I'm sure that's probably part of it.
Shame on them. Shame on them. Because I haven't heard any fans from anywhere else but New York in the Garden. When you come to the Garden, it's clear who the home team is.
Oh, okay, right. But like I said, I have in the past when the Knicks were bad, I have seen similar for the other team coming to the Garden taking over. I have seen that like in the past. I have. I gotta say. But okay.
I get you. I'm talking playoffs in a situation like this.
Oh yeah. Well, I can remember the 2011 first round Knicks were playing Boston, and there were a lot of Boston fans in there just loud. And I was like, what's going on? It's like 15 years ago. But anyway, you know what? I've gotta run because I gotta do the BAI show. Just if you guys want to call back next week and do it again, that would be great. One thing I just want to say before I let you guys go is that Dave. So Uncle Quay Cool. So Dave, he's actually from Jersey, and he is a Mets fan. Has been a Nets fan his whole life, and you know, Dave, Uncle Quay Cool, his best friend growing up was Dr. J. So that's a connection that you guys have right there, Dr. J. You know, watching him at a young age and all that, and you know, next week I'll love to talk about, you know, New York Nets, ABA, and Dr. J, and all that. But
That's great.
We played together in high school. We were on the
Oh,
same
really? On
team.
Long Island?
In Roosevelt, Long Island. He was the doctor.
Wow.
And I was the professor.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
yeah,
Talk more about that.
And then we went to UMass together.
Did you play on that team that played North Carolina in the NIT?
I did not play in UMass. I only played freshman year, and I was drawn into other campus activities. I'll leave it at that.
Wow. That's a cool connection though with Dr. J. Yeah, we'd love to talk more about that.
yeah. Actually, Dave, you were talking to the man who gave Julius Erving his nickname, Dr. J.
Really? Wow.
Well,
that's
that's another story.
Okay. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for calling in. Yes. Okay. I'll talk to y'all soon. Okay, definitely. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great one. All right, folks. I'm out of here. Have a great Sunday. Check me out at WBAI 99.5 FM. Beginning at 1 in like 5 minutes. I'm out.